Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I am your host, Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends in the Delaware County area, we get in a basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic is going to be the classic experience. That's WoW Classic for those uninformed. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Hello, everyone.
And returning guest, the cream to DNN Zorio.
Not today. I'm on the outside.
I was gonna say you
switched
switched this up, man. This would have been
he's the
perfect.
cream.
You can still be the cream.
All right.
I mean, some people do put the cream on the top like a psychopath. I think.
Matt Penza.
Matt Penza.
Yo.
Welcome
Gooch.
back. See, I told you. I knew the intro as soon as I had it.
Well, that's so, you know,
when one fucking part.
When I had to do the best man speech at my brother's wedding, I memorized it, and I my brother's like run through it with me once, or my other brother, and I'm like.
Right.
I could not remember for the life of me.
You get put on the
But
spot.
as soon as I got the first word, it
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
unlocked.
Right.
Yeah.
Little
So that was
adrenaline.
exactly it. So before we jump into talking about Classic, guys, what have you been up to? I know Trio moved. If we're
Yeah.
not talking about
Yeah.
non-nerdy things, congrats
What's your,
on the...
drop your address right now.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. No,
Are you technically in Monco or Delco?
Monco. Yeah, we had this whole discussion last time. Remember?
King of
Yeah.
Prussia, right?
We were having a whole.
Did we have it on the podcast?
I think we did. I think that was on the
Okay.
first one.
Yeah.
But no, that's been good. I finally finished Resident Evil Village. So we'll probably be reviewing that at some point, which was
Oh, okay.
very
That's
interesting.
News to me.
Oh well, I mean,
That
I thought
will
we
be-
would.
will
I mean,
be
I just
podcast
assumed we
about.
would. But also
No, we're not.
What did I finish? I've been working on Crash 4,
Oh, yeah?
which has been actually very hard, like surprisingly tough,
I hear the platinum is
dude.
a feat.
I mean, it looks. I couldn't even imagine what you'd be doing, like if you got that game and tried to get it. But a lot longer than I thought. But I'm slowly working that way through the back catalog. But yeah, Penza, what have you been playing? What have you been doing? What have you
Watching,
been
playing, yeah.
Pretty much just the Burning Crusade Classic, World of Warcraft.
Very apt for today.
That's literally.
I saw you playing. You were playing FIFA, right?
No, I was playing. I play MLB The
Alright,
Show
MLB.
here and there, like in between. I pop in. I'm kind of like in a lull for console games right now, but
There's
it's
really not.
There's not that
a
much.
lot
That's
out,
kind of why
yeah.
I'm doing all my
like I was playing Mass Effect for a little bit, but I think it was just the first game. It's just a little. It feels really dated, so
Yeah, it does.
it kind of pushed me away from continuing. But maybe I'll pick up that series again. I don't know, but yeah, just a whole lot of the Burning Crusade Classic.
Yeah, I've been playing Mass Effect Legendary Edition as well. I don't think I've talked about it on a podcast, not since E3. I don't think it was out when we did that one. But yeah, I finished Mass Effect 1, and like Penza kind of said, it was like my first time playing it, like very dated experience, but like I enjoyed it, like being a fan of 2 and 3, and I'm on 2 right now. I'm like in the end, and I don't know if I'll be moving to Mass Effect 3 right away, but not much else new going on.
out.
There's really not a ton out right now.
Has
I'm
what's
still
the-
doing some things that I've talked about before, but I'm not gonna like get into it. Like Returnal Plat is like a joke.
So what? A joke in what way? Like
It's
just
just
so
the
hard.
RNG for it is stupid.
I would love to look at the the trophy stats on that game to see how many people actually like got through the first level.
And then there is the Act 3 ending, which you have to go back and like get the sun fragment from each of the biomes, and then that actually unlocks the real ending of the game.
Speak another language.
Yeah, I'm
You
confused.
didn't get Returnal?
I got to the first boss and I was like, I don't like this.
I keep forgetting you have a PlayStation
system.
5.
Like
too.
I don't. Yeah. I knew what I was getting into before I started. Like I know it's a roguelike and all that stuff.
I still don't quite understand what that is.
But I'm like not into roguelikes. I learned after playing like maybe I don't know 15 hours of that game.
Okay.
Like it definitely is difficult, but it's not forgiving. I don't think. And I don't know if they add any stuff where like there's really no saves at all. I get that's like kind of point of the game, but
it's just not for you. It's not for you.
yeah.
Not for you.
like I don't want to be grinding like to do a run for a few hours and then die and you just lose all that. You know?
Yeah, it's very so with Returnal, I will do like one good run, and if I die, I stop.
Yeah.
Because it's just too much. You get to the
So
point
you
where
can,
like you
go for hours truly without saving and that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't save, so yes, there's
Yeah.
no save.
So
Like, you
like,
can save.
Like there's obviously save points at
Not
some.
really. I mean, it saves.
No, I
but-
mean like where I shouldn't say save, but where
Yeah,
it,
there's, like-
checkpoints you at some
Yeah.
parts, of course, right? Like
After bosses and stuff like that.
After
yeah.
like
bosses,
that's
but
what I
that's it.
exactly. So
Yeah,
like
so
yeah,
there
like
are
that's
save
the
points, yeah.
It's after major like
So
accomplish
what's
bosses.
the
That's it.
longest, like probably like 2 to 3 hours you could go without like getting any type of checkpoint save or like anything?
Yeah, and one of the big issues,
That
definitely.
sounds disgusting.
And
I'm
there was,
sorry.
like-
I mean, that's the genre.
Exactly. I'm not. Yeah, that definitely does not sound for me.
And people were having issues where, like, if you put your game on sleep, and then people were, like, coming
It
over
would
the next day.
auto-update or something,
And,
yeah.
That
it
happened
auto-
to me.
It would
That
auto-update
That
and you
happened to me.
lost everything. So.
Yeah. But it's the plat's all right. It's just kind of like just like Avengers. I'm grinding high.
Gameplay
Gotta
gameplay
do
was
it.
a lot of fun, I thought.
Yeah, just got to do all that shit in moderation. Like if I was just nonstop playing Returnal
You'd
to
go
grind
crazy.
the fucking plat,
Yeah.
I'd go crazy.
My buddy's saying less Returnal talk, more
WoW
WoW
talk.
talk.
I was just gonna transition us. I didn't need the.
You know
the
what?
Queue.
We're
I didn't need
audibling
a
right
queue.
now. It's all Returnal this entire no.
As a Returnal review.
It's now a new Returnal podcast.
So let's jump into our topic at hand, folks. Talking about World of Warcraft
Craft.
Classic. So let's give a background on our WoW experience. Trio having absolutely none and being our like
It's a big goose egg.
observer, like what are
Like,
our
what is that? Yeah.
like
Do you
yeah
have
like
any
our-
MMO experience?
I played a tiny bit of Guild Wars 2 with Gooch, for
Okay.
like, and then I was like, my computer can't run this, and I don't really like it.
and
I-
Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say Knights of the Old Republic. I played a lot of, but I didn't really play that. I guess in like the traditional MMO way. I feel like I kind of just did the story points, like the quests, and then that was it. Like that was a very cinematic like MMO. I felt like, but yeah, that's about my extent with MMOs. But Penza, what about you?
Yeah, Penza. What about you?
Pretty much just World of Warcraft. I've been thinking about lately hopping into Final Fantasy.
But you've never played retail.
No, never played retail.
You're only a classic boy. You didn't
Only classic
You didn't
boy.
live back in the day when Burning Crusade and Wrath were actually out in vanilla. I guess. Yeah, you are a classic only jabroni.
So what is that?
Classic Andy.
So you only played this new you didn't play classic one or like actual.
No,
Okay.
I remember.
Maybe we should explain that.
Yeah, I'm a little confused.
What classic is?
So I
Yeah,
thought
okay.
classic
Yeah.
was what is like this new release.
It is. It
Okay,
is.
okay.
It is.
But
Yeah.
it is. So originally it was just. They call like the first iteration of the World of Warcraft. I mean, not talking like prior to vanilla, but they call what they
Non-expansion World of Warcraft
vanilla,
vanilla.
Makes sense.
and that's what classic. About 2 years ago now,
Okay.
I think. About 2 years ago.
Maybe a year and a half.
Yeah,
Sure,
around that time.
sure.
They re-released classic vanilla.
So
Okay.
this is World of Warcraft not as it was released originally, but like basically one of its first incarnations
Yeah, like the
in
first
2004.
Sure. Okay.
think
That
of
makes
it-
sense.
If you think of it in expansions, essentially like the first expansion.
Sure.
Well, not
The first
TBC,
release
yeah, the
of the
first
game.
release.
This makes so. When was the initial release date of World of Warcraft?
2004.
2004. So
Yeah.
this was the remake that they just
It's not a
released-
remake.
Or,
It's
I'm
not a
sorry,
remake.
re-release. Right. Or
Yeah, essentially.
is of the original World of Warcraft drop.
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Makes sense.
More or less.
Okay,
There's some
yeah.
semantics into the updates.
Sure,
of
sure,
which
sure, sure.
version, but yeah. So this is literally classic is World of Warcraft as it was pretty much in 2004, and then they pretty much did the same thing again with the first expansion, the Burning Crusade, and they re-released that same deal. Released it as it was back in the day. There's a lot of
you
nostalgia.
could not find that anywhere
No,
before.
no, it's not exactly the same. The Burning Crusade. There are a few changes.
There are even with classic. There's
Even
some,
with, no,
there's
but way more than
more so
classic.
with Burning Crusade.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with classic, how they released it with their phases.
Okay.
So like phase 1 was Onyxia and Molten Core, I think,
Which are raids and
which
game
are raids.
content.
Yeah,
Okay.
40-man raids.
All right.
And then you had Blackwing Lair and ZG. Then you had
Zul'Gurub.
Yeah, and then you had AQ 20, AQ 40, and then Nax.
AQ20 is a 20-man version of
Yeah.
Unkurai, and then Unkurai 40 is a 40-man version of it. So you're getting 40 people and you're going into a raid.
Sure.
So this
Okay,
is
that
this
makes
is
sense.
all end game content stuff.
And this took about like a year, maybe like a year and a half for all the releases to come out.
Yeah. Okay.
And with each release, with each phase, there's more content, new weapons, stuff like that.
Okay. That makes sense.
But yeah, that's pretty much like what classic
itself is. Okay.
Yeah, and like I was kind of saying, there's a lot of nostalgia there was a lot of nostalgia. I mean, I guess there still is, but more so when it didn't exist. There's a lot of nostalgia and want to be like, wow, I would love to play WoW like I did in 2004, 5, 6.
And that's essentially, that's really what you're getting with Classic.
Okay.
But,
No changes,
That makes
like
sense, yeah.
gameplay-wise, really at all.
yeah, pretty much. So it's an older game. It's like playing a game from 20 years ago, like you would, I don't know, like Oblivion. Like you're playing Oblivion 20 years ago. Like the mechanics are kind of old.
Sure,
There's
sure.
a lot of dated systems, and with that comes pros and cons. And the reason I wanted to do this podcast was I played Classic before TBC came out, so Vanilla Classic last year during pandemic for like 3 months, and I was like I would love to sit down and talk about this because I feel like I have a lot of hot takes when it comes to Classic, a lot of like, okay, like these are the things I liked, but like ultimately like Classic is like not like I think all it's cracked up to be in a way. But yeah, that's kind of where this podcast came from. It's just like
There's a lot of nostalgia loaded into it for people. Like you said.
100%.
Yeah.
That's like if there was no nostalgia tied to Classic, there wouldn't be a Classic.
I mean, yeah,
That
but
makes sense.
That's I don't have any nostalgia towards Classic.
That's true.
Do you think?
But
it
you're
would have been
also
made
you're
that,
also
like,
joining in with the hype of all the people who do. Like it's not like it's
Yeah,
like
but like none of it means anything to me. Essentially, like at the end of the day, like it's not like, oh, I'm first time in Molten Core. Oh, I haven't been in there in 10+ years.
you're like, this is new to me.
Yeah, it's like everything was all brand new to me. And like I think it's safe to say, like through playing Vanilla Classic and Burning Crusade, like World of Warcraft probably is my favorite game of all time. Like
really
including the
interesting.
console stuff, all that. Like nothing, no game has made me feel how
World of Warcraft
has.
have.
so
Interesting.
I started playing WoW in
But we had two
the
very
burning,
different styles for how we played too.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Like my focus is on
End game content.
endgame content.
Which when I started to play, I was like, I don't give a fuck about
Yeah.
rating right now.
Yeah.
So, endgame content.
Yeah.
What is like? Is that just basic? Like that's after you've finished up all your quests.
After you reach not your quest.
Okay.
After you've reached max level,
Okay.
you pretty much raid. That's what there is to do.
That makes
you
sense.
raid and you play PvP.
Okay.
So you're doing certain raids to get more gear to do either finish those raids or go on to the next tier of raids. So you're constantly progressing your equipment. This is how a lot of like old school MMOs kind of base themselves off of.
That makes sense.
You going into this 10 or 25 man content and like clearing raids and trying to get gear
Doing
to
your
do
thing,
the
yeah.
next thing, to do the next thing, to do the next thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in Vanilla Classic, the raids were, you had 2 raids that were 20 man, which was ZG and AQ20.
Okay.
But then all the other raids were 40 man.
Okay. And these are timed events, correct? This might be dumb questions. I'm
No,
sorry.
No.
Or are
no,
these
but
like-
they have
are they like-
lockouts. They have,
okay.
like weekly lockouts.
You can
So-
only
Sure.
do it once a week.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
Like once you beat the raid, like you go back in and the raid's cleared.
Yeah, it's locked out. So you're locked.
That makes
your
sense.
character is locked
You are.
out.
That's. They kind of do similar
Put the
stuff.
mic
with that now.
down or hold it.
I'm doing both. I'm gonna
It's
be like
not,
Gooch. Like
you keep like
I'm
alternating.
gonna be because I'm picking up the.
It's locked per character.
Sure.
But say you can run it on, say it resets on Monday morning, you can run it Sunday night and then run it again on Monday. So it's not like locked per character for 7 days or so.
That makes sense.
It's just like server.
I mean, they do
and,
stuff like that kind of
wide.
actually even in Red Dead now with like
Lock,
the time
yeah.
they time stuff like that. Not to that extent where it's days, but that's still interesting.
Yeah. So let's go back to Penza. Like, I'm I don't know. Talk to like. This is your favorite game, huh? WoW Classic. It's a very interesting take for somebody who has no nostalgia for it. Going into it, I don't know like what you were expecting necessarily, but it's interesting to hear like, yeah, like Classic is like one of my favorite games of all time, with having no nostalgia for it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's how I got into playing Classic was I saw the announcement that was getting released, and then I had like a group of buddies that we played Overwatch with, and like I like sent it in there and was like curious, and then my one buddy Dave, who is probably still in chat right now, was like,
You can watch live, twitch.tv/Delco Network. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow on podcast services. Thanks, bye.
My one buddy Dave was like, Yeah, me and like he used to play back in the day with some of his buddies. So yeah, me and my buddy Mitch and Hunt are getting into it. Like we should get it, like hop into it.
You should get
so
into
it was
it with us,
me, those three, and then I had a couple other buddies who tried it out.
Okay.
And the first character we did, this was like right when release started for Classic. We had a couple like alliance characters. I got one to like level
Ooh.
30, but nothing. And then like I kind of fell off for a couple months, and then COVID really like lockdown really started. I was like, all right, I'm
You're
gonna
like,
hop
time to
back
hunt,
in.
yeah.
And Dave Hunt and Mitch had horde characters like pretty much level 60 or close to it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna grind out a character on horde
There we go.
and get them there, and we'll start doing some end game content. They're in the guild they're in was called Juggernaut. I have some interesting stories. I don't know if I'm gonna share.
What are you on? What server?
We at this time we were on Ash Candy, on Classic.
Ascandi?
Yeah,
Ash candy.
Ash Candy. That's what I say.
Yeah.
But so I grinded out a rogue Wormtail, my guy, to level 60. With them, I remember the first time hopped in Molten Core, which was like the first 40-man raid in Vanilla Classic. I was level 59, but you have to, there's an attunement process, blah blah blah, and I mean I'll never forget it. It was like
You have to do a quest to get into the
yeah, that's what attunement.
to the raid.
Some of
essentially.
them, yeah, essentially. There's like a little bit of a chain, but nothing crazy. Not as crazy as the attunements in the Burning Crusade.
Karazhan for when it
Well,
happens.
the eye is pretty long
yeah,
too.
I know Karazhan's attunement was pretty legendary.
But yeah, and so like we hopped in, and really the four of us played all the way up together through to like halfway through AQ 40, and then we're in a pretty hardcore guild. We like it felt like everyone was kind of established in that guild. Like we were raiding, but you know we were new kids on the block, and like it kind of just killed our excitement for the game. Just because like it felt like we weren't like fitting in or whatever, so we all like took a break. We all stopped at AQ 40.
Okay. So you never finished AQ 40.
No, like we ran AQ 40 a bunch of times.
You were on.
Like, we cleared AQ 40. We never.
You stopped after that.
You were
Yeah.
farming AQ 40. You weren't progressing.
Yeah, we weren't progressing. Never did Nax. So we stopped, and then when the Burning Crusade Classic got released or announcement, we started getting hype again. We're like, all right, let's do it, blah blah blah, and we hopped back in. And I know myself personally, I know like Dave and Hunt, Mitch is taking a little bit of a break, but we're like I'm dedicated to getting through TBC, to knocking out all the content, because that's like looking back, it was. I do regret that I never cleared all the content in Classic. Like I never did Nax. You know, I never saw Nax.
Nax is definitely one of those raids where I mean you're gonna do it again in Wrath.
How long do raids usually take?
And they're good. So like when
I guess
You're not
vary, I
you're not
assume.
clearing it at night for the most part.
Yeah.
Depends on what it is.
yeah, you are.
When you're progressing, you're not.
Yeah, progression.
Maybe if you're farming, it, sure.
Progression, like most guilds are like 3 hours
Okay.
for progression.
So
But
what's the
now-
difference between progression and farming then? 'Cause-
Progression is when you're still learning the fights and the
Okay.
mechanics. So like you're dying on bosses. So
Sure,
a lot
sure.
of your time is like trial and error.
That makes sense.
Um,
Okay.
And then farming is when you
You
know
are-
the
you know-
fights.
you
you're
can go
pretty,
through, yeah.
You're pretty much one-shotting all the bosses. and
Okay. Interesting.
Getting
Yeah,
through.
like example, like one of the guilds we're in Classic, we're doing like Blackwing Lair, which isn't a crazy long raid, but there definitely is like a skill.
Level required. Or
Yeah, for sure. And like the one guild we were doing, and took us all night, and I don't even think we finished the entire raid. And then the other guild that we were in, like this was like later in Classic, it was like 35 minutes.
Oh wow.
So it just
What a night.
Yeah.
That's so ideal. Because sometimes, like, when it's like, you raid, like, 2 or 3 nights a week, and you're fucking grinding on a boss
Yeah.
for, like, 2 hours a night. It's so grueling.
And so you can stop a boss, like you can stop in the middle of a boss. Like, is that how I
Yeah,
thought these
yeah,
were
if you
okay,
wipe,
interesting.
yeah,
I didn't know
if you
that.
wipe.
And you
Pick up-
can pick up right from there. basically, or at least from that boss
until the raid resets. Then you have to do.
Okay, all right.
There will be like a soft reset for some mobs,
Sure.
which are just like the
Trash mod.
trash
Sure. That makes sense.
but
Okay,
the bosses will not reset until there's the hard reset on the time.
Makes sense. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I started playing WoW right before Burning Crusade started. So this must have been like 2005, 2006. I started playing World of Warcraft when I was in middle school.
Well, I know that like Burning Crusade Classic came out almost like around the same time that it came out back in the day, with regards to when vanilla was launched.
Do you remember? It was Burning Crusade
So-
2006 or 2005.
It's probably 2005, almost 2006. It's like a year and a half. Depends when in 2004 did vanilla launch.
I think it was like fall, right?
So late in 2004, then
Yeah.
it could have been early 2006. That's like a year and a half, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's
That's
probably
probably
what it
what
is. So that's when I started playing. So I played vanilla, I played Burning Crusade, and I played Wrath. Those are the three. So Burning Crusade first expansion, Wrath of the Lich King is the second expansion, and that's kind of like the classic era of World of Warcraft.
I remember the launch of the Lich King one. I remember like
Really?
vividly. I
What do
just
you
remember
remember?
it being talked about like a lot.
Ah,
I remember
okay.
it. Yeah. So that's when I definitely remember.
That was definitely a big deal expansion, mostly because the Lich King, who is in Warcraft 3, he's one of the original like big bads. Like in Warcraft 3, the real-time strategy version of the game that this is based off of.
Interesting.
You
All right.
play as Arthas, so you kind of see that storyline go down. So I think that's why Wrath was as big as it was, because it was pulling more from the Warcraft 3 story, which is like fans were hype about.
Sure.
And think about it, like Classic was like one of the first, or World of Warcraft was one of the first big MMOs. Like there was no story really in vanilla WoW.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
there
That makes
was a
sense.
world, and
you
that
kind
was
of like
about
went
it.
through. Yeah. You experienced the world.
There were some through lines with factions and stuff, but like there wasn't really any story. And same with
Yeah.
Burning Crusade. Like Burning Crusade, again, it's there is a more of a through line with Illidan the villain, but like there really is no story. Where now it's like Wrath of the Lich King totally changed that. There was
full on
a
like
huge story,
a narrative going.
and
yeah.
with every expansion since then, the narrative has been obviously like much more present, especially as like
Interesting.
technology goes. Like
That makes sense.
They got,
Yeah. Of course they can.
Blizzard is
they
known
gotta
for
keep
their
up. Yeah.
cinematics, and rightfully so, especially in Wrath of the Lich King when you start seeing like the Wrathgate. I remember that was the first cinematic, and everyone was like, "Holy shit!
Whoa.
Like this is what Blizzard can do." And then like they, with Ice Crown Citadel and
So
stuff
they
like
would use
that.
like full CGI cutscenes and stuff like that. Or,
They
like,
would
were,
use
like-
the in-game graphics, but they were not just using the character model in-game.
Yeah.
They were definitely using their in-game models, but like doing mouse
touching.
movements.
Yeah. Like
and stuff.
actually. Okay. That makes
So
sense.
again, this Wrath of the Lich King's like 2007, 2008.
Okay. Okay.
No, 2008.
Okay. That makes sense.
8? Year after, yeah, it was the year after Halo 3. I was in 8th grade. That's when Classic came out. Or that's when,
Classic.
I'm just fucking throwing terms around. That's when Wrath came out. So I finally decided to sit down and play Classic after you had gotten into it. And I'm like, I have some nostalgia for that. I remember those days of, when I was younger playing WoW for the first time. And there are some very fond memories there. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. After I quit World of Warcraft, I like to say cold turkey, in freshman year of high school, I just froze my account and never played again. Literally. I've never played retail.
Was there I was almost about to say a specific reason in that?
Yeah, I just got sick of the game.
Okay.
I think there was and talked to a lot of World of Warcraft veterans, after that second expansion, Wrath of the Lich King,
Sure.
things started to go downhill almost extremely steadily.
Like it was just was a steep incline, or more of like a slow and steady.
A slow and steady,
like just
demise.
quality just started
Cataclysm
going, yeah.
wasn't everyone's favorites. Changed up a lot. Not a lot of people liked it. Mists of Pandaria had a
Yeah.
bunch of issues. Then Warlords of Draenor, and like I don't think WoW has ever really gotten back to where they were at
Where they
Wrath,
should've-
to a certain extent. Maybe
Especially retail.
retail WoW
Yeah.
we're talking about, which is what Classic is based off of, and that's kind of why I never went back. It never seemed like WoW was good enough for me to return. And like I was kind of just like jaded with the game at some point. Like I was like, fuck this. Like I'm done. Like I'm paying $15 a month.
What am I doing?
Like,
what am I getting out of this?
There is a like an entry fee to this game.
Is that still the same today? Is it 15?
I'm a kid in high school.
Yeah, there's a lot of
fucking
you don't have a lot of
income.
money. Where you're spending your money matters, especially
Right.
at that
So
time.
when
yeah.
I was like making allowance, like when I was in middle school and shit, like I like vividly remember like every 3 months driving up to GameStop, buying a 3-month card for World of Warcraft. Like I'd like from Ed at GameStop.
Fucking Ed,
From a Lawrence Park GameStop.
Oh my
in Delaware
gosh,
County.
Ed, was he the one with the ponytail?
Yes.
Oh, Ed.
Yeah, he was at that one for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's what I did. And I took a lot of breaks. Like I wasn't playing nonstop when I was playing originally, but jumping back into Classic and I was like, fuck, dude, I love the leveling experience. That's a big thing for
Now
me.
I need to ask you
Trio.
guys something. I'm curious if this is going to annoy you or it's
Am I
going to
gonna
be
get triggered?
interesting. Whenever I hear World of Warcraft, one of the first things that jumps to my
South
mind
Park?
is South Park.
Oh, it's
is
great.
that episode,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
I just the image of the guy sitting at the chair and the computer, and like
That-
I don't, and just that whole episode.
Oh, it's great.
It's so good.
It's like not it's pretty spot on with some things. Like there are some like that doesn't make any sense. Like some of their like lingo when they're like,
Well, yeah, when they're
Kenny,
in-game,
give your cape of the mongoose to Kyle. He needs it for his bow tax. Like you can't do that. Like it's soulbound. You can't just take it off and like give it to him.
Soul pound, you moron.
Yeah. So when you equip an item, it just binds to you once you do that. So
Interesting.
Once you get rid
Can
of it,
you give each other money in that game?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can trade.
Oh, yeah.
There's an economy.
Oh yeah.
There's certain. Okay, interesting.
The WoW has seriously like its
Yeah,
own
there's a lot of, like-
functioning economy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
That's so funny.
there's a lot of like interesting parts of WoW. Like there's like you can hop on an entire RP server, role playing server,
Yeah,
and like
an ERP if you want.
you're not really even like raiding or anything. You're just like
You go to
You're just walking around and be like,
Your
hello,
RP
good sir.
You're RP,
It's D&D,
and yeah,
yeah.
like you have your WoW wife and doing like whatever.
you go
know?
to you go to
Honey, I'm home.
you go to Moonguard Goldshire Inn, and you see the prostitutes
Of course,
come out,
the
the
moon-
e-girls. Literally, I'm not kidding you. They're in the server Moonguard in like the human starting zone. There's an inn where people ERP. Like it's known.
So
for that.
can
It's
what
been like
you
that
just
for years.
like?
What
Do
an-
they show it? Like what happens?
No, it's just it's just
They
like
just
they like
dance
dance
there like in their underwear and
they
they're
like
they're
emote dance and like that's it.
I should send you a video because it's kind of hard to describe.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
that I want to get into all the sexual details.
No, that's amazing. And then there was another thing that I've heard like a
Incredible.
lot of recent. Like I listened to a podcast on. I think I mentioned it to you guys. Was like the blood curse thing that went down.
Oh
with them.
yeah,
That was like
Yeah.
like I know that was
was
like an insanely major issue for them.
Yeah, back like in
Like,
vanilla.
I was gonna. That's what I thought. That was vanilla, right?
Yeah, that was vanilla WoW. I know what you're talking about, but like I can't really like talk to it too much.
It's
That
so.
was-
it's a
wasn't-
it's a
it's
blood
like
curse
so-
from Naxxramas, right? That's what it is.
They
Yeah.
put it in some type of boss fight, right? And then it got like into I guess the companions, and then the companions didn't reset for some reason. And once they got
Yeah,
out
and it
to
just
the
like
world,
spread to like throughout the server.
and it would literally
Yeah.
like I guess
would
spread by like your body would explode, so like anyone near you would be infected.
Yeah.
And apparently it's like been studied by like actual biologists and like immunologists to be like, well, obviously it's not exactly how like people would react in a pandemic, but like it was just interesting to like look at it and be like there were medics going in trying to help each other, but that ended up spreading the disease more. So it's kind of funny. It's very interesting.
So jumping back to my classic experience, so I rolled a Tauren Hunter like I did originally. I was kind of like, all right, that's where
I thought you had
I did Night Elf Warrior.
Yeah, Night Elf. Yeah, I remember
I
the
was
Night Elf.
leveling 2 characters. So I was leveling 2 characters at the same time, kind of switching back and forth. I really only got to level 40, and I love the starting zone leveling experience. But what happened in Classic originally, the further you get in level, I feel like the worse the zones become. Like the less fun questing is, the more grueling it is to find quests. And then I was getting pissed off about stuff like that. Like, so there's the pro. Like I liked the leveling experience to a certain extent, but then there's cons. It's like, fuck, I want to do a dungeon. It's going to take me like 2.5, 3 hours to do.
Jesus.
One, I got to find the group. And there's no tools to do that. You have to go around and chat and go looking for more Wailing Caverns, need tank, and you'd be looking for a tank for fucking hours.
It's still like that even in TVC. There's a good add-on called looking for group bulletin board where like you type in looking for group what you're looking for and like you can click what dungeons you're looking for and stuff like that and it'll separate those from like the rest of them, but there's still no what's it called?
Looking for group system.
No, it's like Raid Finder, I think.
Yeah,
or,
Group Finder.
Group Finder?
Yeah, so like now World of Warcraft, like there's a system.
There's like an in-game match. Like
right,
an
it
in-game
matches
system,
you
yeah.
up. It's matchmaking, essentially.
yeah.
But in
Vanilla.
Wrath, in Vanilla, in the Burning Crusade, you're finding your groups manually by typing
Like
into
you-
chats and look in towns looking for people. And like
That's
this
funny,
would
isn't it?
sometimes
So like
take
that.
an
I
hour,
can only
an hour and
imagine.
a
Yeah, you're
half.
just sitting there like, I need people for a raid. Like
Yeah.
basically holding up a sign in the middle of town. Like
Right.
Yeah, like
that's,
I need help.
That's exactly what you're doing.
That's so
and,
funny.
And then you get the group, and then you figure all your shit out. Hopefully you
all line up. You all are like you probably need a certain type of character. Like,
right,
For,
you
yeah.
know, your
tanks or whatever,
3 DPS, a tank, and a healer, like your classic, Trinity system here. And then you do the dungeon, and then sometimes doing the dungeon, like Wailing Caverns, is a long, arduous dungeon. Like, again, we are dealing with, like, 2003, 2004 level design here, where, like, the dungeon is not really laid out in the best way. It's
I disagree. I think the dungeons are pretty damn well done, especially in Classic.
I think they're too
And
complicated
TBC.
and too complex for what it's worth.
I disagree.
There are a lot of winding paths, backtracking, going this way.
No,
going
in Wailing
that way.
Caverns, it's like that.
Yeah, but like Maradon, it's the same way with that place.
Yeah, Penza.
A little bit.
Yeah. Like I think like Scarlet Monastery is like one of the best dungeons all of them.
I think Dead Mines is probably my favorite.
Okay. Dead Mines is an early alliance raid.
Yeah, it's,
trio,
like it's gonna be like the
I know you were
first
wondering.
alliance.
I was sitting here like,
No,
I
it's
wonder
a
if that's an
dungeon.
alliance or
No,
horde
it's a-
raid.
it's a dungeon.
Raid.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
five-man.
dungeon.
Or sorry, yeah, dungeon.
So what's the difference between a dungeon and a raid?
Dungeons are 5-man group experience. Raids are 10.
Okay,
25,
those are like
40.
large scale, more large
Right.
scale. That
and
makes
more
sense.
difficult.
Sure.
So that's your experience. You're leveling and you're doing PvP, which I can't really talk to too much. I've never been huge into WoW PvP, even though I got my Black War Kodo in TBC. I got full merciless gear in PvP because I
Were
would
you alliance or horde?
I was horde. I
Okay.
did a lot of Alterac Valley back in the day.
It's a weird question. Can you own property?
No.
No, you can't.
In Warlords of Draenor, they kind of do a system called garrisons, which is that you have your own garrison and you flesh it out. That's something I think every MMO has tried to do, player housing, and it's never worked
Because it's.
out.
I was gonna say like
Final
how.
Fantasy has a decent like
Guild
home
Wars 2
setup.
tried to do it, and it kind of like
Well, that's the. I feel like
It
it's so
ended up
weird
being
because
like
like if someone else owns that house on a different server, like could you never be on like I don't know how that
Well,
would
you
even
would never
like, work.
see them. Like
No,
you're on
but I
your
guess you
server.
enter your. I guess they do it in GTA. You have your own house, and like two people in the same house, but you just both enter into different houses.
Yeah.
Which even like it's just interesting to think of like how now NFTs and stuff they're like selling like in-game like property for literal money now and stuff like that. I wonder
how
if
they
they'd ever
selling
such a.
in-game property.
It's. I still don't even quite understand it.
I
It's
don't
like
even-
you're like.
Yeah,
It's a whole
NFTs.
nother fucking thing. Like basically, people are thinking they're gonna start selling like real estate in like games like GTA, and you are gonna basically VR live in your. It's weird shit, man. But it's like picking up ground. But anyways, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, jumping back to it, like I liked my experience during Classic. I played for 3 months, but like I feel like I hit a point where like leveling felt like such an arduous ordeal that I just fell out of it. And I even told you, I'm like, I don't even want to think about rating right now. Like I don't even know if I'm gonna get to 60. I'm just gonna have fun, do dungeons, quests, because that's what I like to do. And Burning Crusade rolls around, and you're like, dude, are you gonna get back in? And I'm like, I don't know, man, because I feel like the same thing is gonna happen.
Yeah, but they had the boost. You can
I
still
don't wanna boost.
You can still boost.
No, I'm not boosting Andy.
No, that's how I am. I cannot stand. I mean, leveling is what it is. Like sometimes it's fun, but I personally don't like leveling at all. That's why
I feel like a lot-
I feel like that's a main mechanic of the game, though, is it not?
Right, but I feel like a lot of people, like, you do it once, you never want to do it again. And that's where, like, boosts exist. And World of Warcraft implemented, like, things you can buy for real money, so you don't have to level an alternative character. Like, you can just boost them, your 60 or whatever the cap is, and you can do the end game now.
Those fucks.
Yeah, like I'm
A lot of people hate leveling. You're right.
like
It's-
I've been playing for almost 2 years now, right? Give and take a few months off. I have one character that I have max level.
Yeah.
Like, and
Wow.
because
And-
I don't
Sorry,
want to level. Like I don't enjoy leveling. I enjoy endgame.
In Guild Wars 2, I'm kind of at the same place. Like, I leveled 3 characters, like, legitimately. After that, I don't want to fucking bother
Yeah.
with leveling. And that's because I've seen
How long
all
does
it
it
has
take to like fully level? Would you guess
Depends.
Sure.
There's a lot of variables.
I wish I did my /hours after I
Like
hit 60.
it would probably take you a good month though. If you're like playing like
you're
somewhat
playing every
regularly,
day.
like somewhat regularly.
So it took me 3 months, and I did not get to 40, but I was taking my
But there's
time.
easy ways to do it too. There's like you can pay to like
Yeah,
get
people-
spammed in dungeons for XP and stuff
Okay.
like that.
All
People have, you know,
They've created systems.
leveling down to a science. I
Yeah.
mean,
Makes sense.
You could take crafting professions too, and like there's leveling guides for that. Especially depends on what class you're playing. If you're playing a warrior, which is going to be a fucking really hard time.
That makes
if
sense.
you're playing a paladin, it's probably going to be easier. Or a shaman, like there are classes that are much harder to play, and classes that are much easier to play. And like your survivability is also a factor. Like if you're questing alone, like and if you die. Well, guess what? This is one of the things I hated with that. I realized I was like, oh my God. Like the first time it happened. So when you die, you have to walk back from a graveyard to your corpse and resurrect.
Okay.
Unless somebody resurrects you, which if
Sure.
you're alone, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Or you could resurrect at the graveyard, but you get like massive debuffs for your stamina, like for
Everything.
You
Yeah.
basically can't kill things.
Yeah, and your health and your gear is like put to like 25%.
Jesus.
So you have to go repair your gear.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not worth doing it if you're like in the middle of something.
Yeah.
So it may take you 5-6 minutes to walk back to your corpse, depending on where you are.
Sure.
You like that may not
That,
seem like
no,
a
it
lot of
adds up.
time.
No, it would
Dude,
add up. I
when,
know
when
that.
you're
Yeah.
when you're in the middle of like doing something and you're like, dude, I gotta fucking walk back. Oh my God. And like that is something that,
It's
in
just
my
a-
opinion, is like, this is so
Just
annoying.
arduous. Yeah.
I just like they would never do this in an MMO today because this is one of the things that when I think you look back at WoW and it's like, was that fun? Was it immersive? Maybe. But like, was it really like, did people really like it? I would say no. And that's why they got rid of it or changed it to a way where like, okay, like you can mount up all your dead and fly back to your corpse and it doesn't take that long.
No, that makes
I don't
sense.
even know what the system is for walking back in retail right now. Like what it is.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know in TBC
Like,
it's the same as Classic. You gotta walk, you gotta run back.
yeah, and there are like again,
Jeez.
the classic. The experience has its pros and cons. I see the value in playing it, but then again, it's like, fuck, these mechanics are outdated, man.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's kind of a trade-off when you're playing all those old games. Like it is tough.
I've told him I would love to see a version of World of Warcraft that was like updated graphics, updated everything, but
Mechanics, but like the same story. And
like the
same,
older stuff. Like it's kind of like it would almost be like a classic like plus.
So it's like almost like you want like the classic car shell, but with the updated interior.
Right.
You know what I
That's
mean?
a good way
Like
to put it.
you
Man.
want all the bells and whistles, you want AC, you want power steering, but you want it to look like a nice 1980s Mustang.
I have a screenshot on my phone from around 60, I think, and I have hours played.
Okay.
My buddies are saying they think it took them like 15 days to get to 60.
Okay.
And
Which,
that's
like-
also, think about it, everyone knows how to play
Sure,
Classic.
yeah, you guys are in it. Yeah,
That is a different
That's
thing.
an experienced person. yeah.
The player skill set, everyone is better at games now than they were 20 years
Of course,
ago.
yeah, and also,
know?
so I mean, and if you've already been playing it a lot too, that probably.
So
I
what's
assume helps.
what's your play time? Is that what we're waiting for?
Yeah, you keep talking. It's somewhere on here. But this is from like a while ago. So this is probably like around 60. This isn't post
Okay.
TBC. I'll do it later today.
Yeah, you'll have to get back to us. Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of my take. And then I think about Classic, and it's like, okay, think about it. The expansions that are nostalgic to people, it's Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King. So what happens? Wrath of the Lich King Classic is going to happen. So it's their most popular expansion.
Yeah.
One day, yeah.
It's going to happen.
Oh no, like without doubt.
They're gonna-
happening.
Is it like announced or is it?
No, but
No,
they
it's
just
gonna
stupid not
happen.
to.
Yeah, sure,
Blizzard
sure.
likes money just as much as most big
Absolutely,
video game
yeah.
companies. So what happens when we get to Classic, or when we get to Wrath, and Wrath's done? Is it going to end? Because Cataclysm is not an expansion people want to go back to.
Yeah, so it's that's the question that they're gonna have to tackle.
Cross that bridge when they come to it, as I say.
Blizzard's been struggling even on the retail side like a lot lately.
Blizzard's been struggling with a lot of stuff recently.
Aside from like their obviously the stuff going on with their lawsuit, City of California and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They've really been getting just outclassed essentially from Final Fantasy, and in the sense that like it's nothing that Final Fantasy is doing. It is what Blizzard isn't doing.
Guild Wars 2
Like
did
they're
this.
their own worst enemy.
Guild Wars 2, when it launched, kind of did the same thing. I think SWTOR, Final Fantasy 14, Guild Wars 2 all gave WoW a serious run for their money.
I still am surprised. Like even SWTOR, I didn't realize how well that game still does.
I don't know if it does.
I
I don't know if it does well. I don't know a lot of people. I don't know anyone playing it. But
I saw
when
the
it
player
came
count, I
out,
guess, yeah.
it made an impact. And Guild Wars 2 did the same thing. I feel like Guild Wars 2 is getting ready for another expansion. But like when they released, like they did a lot of stuff. Like their manifesto, their like MO was like, we're gonna be exactly what you don't like about WoW. Like, we're going to do everything they are doing bad better.
Interesting.
And that was, this Final Fantasy 14 kind of took a similar approach where they were doing things that WoW didn't. They outclassed them, and then WoW had to be like, yeah, I guess
we gotta step up to the plate,
I guess the
sort of?
wardrobe system Guild Wars 2 has is pretty good. We should add transmog to our game so you can look like whatever you want but have the best stats. You can have the cool sets.
I got the data.
Lay it on us.
So this was when I was level 60, and this was taken. I don't know if I can find a date on this. This was total time played 33 days, 7 hours, 27 minutes. But total time played on this level, which is level 60, was 19 days, 14 hours. So do the math. Took me like 14 days.
Like 2-ish weeks, yeah.
Yeah, to hit
Jesus.
60. And that was like coming home from work every day.
That's
like,
what you're doing.
And playing WoW.
Yeah.
And like it was like height of it
What
was
a
like
time.
peak of like quarantine too. So like
What else? There's nothing
one
else
was
to
going
do.
out.
Yeah,
We're
what do you
playing
do?
WoW.
Yeah.
Like every weekend, like
Right.
nonstop.
And this is how it was when we were at school. What did we do? What take any game you want. We came over from school. We fucking played video games.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of why I want to do this podcast, because I feel like I have such a I have a little bit of love for Classic, but at the same time I look at it and it goes, is this model really viable? It's going to come to an end soon. Look how quick Burning Crusade came out. We even said that. Yeah, I remember when you said it, it was like, wow.
Well,
They really turned that around.
they dropped it like kind of nowhere.
They released it and it's like it's coming out
And
in
they're
2
like,
months.
oh.
Whereas like
No,
Classic,
it was like it's coming out in a month, and you have like 2 weeks of like pre-release content.
So
essentially.
you got to play like some of the new races, and
Yeah, so they
like
give,
the
like-
new race. There's 2 new races: Blood
Yeah.
Elf and Draenei and Burning Crusade.
Okay.
And you can play them up until 60, essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
And then, sorry,
I'm sorry. No. So here's the interesting thing about World of Warcraft. There's 2 factions, Alliance and Horde. And in Classic, there's obviously different races. Like Undead are only on Horde.
Sure.
Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
No, that
But
makes sense.
Horde were the only faction that could have shamans, and Alliance were the only faction that could have paladins. And with the Burning Crusade release, you got the Blood Elves, and you have the Draenei.
Who can do those?
Yeah, Blood,
opposite,
right.
yeah.
So
Blood
now-
Elves on Horde and Draenei on Alliance,
And
now
they can both do the
Draenei-
opposite, yeah.
the Draenei can do.
So now
can do
each faction can
shamans
do
and-
every
yeah.
class.
Yeah.
Before that wasn't the case.
Okay.
Because there were some advantages, like even like especially in PvP stuff.
Fucking paladins
Yeah.
were a force.
Even
They were-
but shamans got the Wind Fury for your melee and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
like Alliance side never had anything like that.
Yeah.
So they both were a bit of a trade-off, and now they've kind of you can use both of them on either
Right, and
faction,
with
yeah.
retail, it's you know you can fucking do anything you want in retail now. There's like they really like
there's a lot more classes and
races,
in
sub races.
retail.
They've added like so there's night elves and blood elves, and there's they're not dark elves. What are they fucking called?
What the like the knights talking about
Knights of Columbus.
that one class?
No.
Like it's like Blood Knight, right?
No, not Death Knight.
Death Knight. That's what I'm thinking of.
The subclasses. There's like what are they? Not high elves. What
I
are they
don't know.
called? Anyway, there's like different types of elves, different types of humans. There's mecha gnomes, there's regular gnomes. Like there's all sorts of shit now. But before it was really base with like Alliance was the humans, the dwarves, the night elves, the gnomes, and then a Horde was orc, trolls, tauren, undead. Like they were really base, and then now it's like super expansive. But you know, back in Classic, it was simple. It was really simple. But now it's just like again, it's so much more.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Classic appeals to people. It
That makes
appeals to
sense.
the,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
simpler times, one, and then when they
But in nostalgia, for those who had it, yeah.
in real life and in the game. I feel
Well,
like
no, and like even like Penza with your like thing like of those people, your friends, did play WoW when they were younger.
Yeah.
So those were like, you got to think how many people were like that. Like, we're like, oh, I'm getting WoW. You guys should get it with me. Like, it's a lot of fun. I'm telling you. And then the bleed over from people who weren't even necessarily original players.
What's funny is I never really had an experience where I like leveled up with a group of friends. Like I feel like the friends I played WoW with, if any, Mike Lasacci, friend of the show, who's been on before. We've talked about MMOs before. Me and Mike like played WoW and Wrath, but like we didn't like level together, and we weren't like intensely playing together.
Yeah, I didn't really even level together with these guys.
It was really,
either.
it's really hard to keep a group on the same page. In MMOs.
I feel like that's honestly any game.
Well,
unfortunately,
yeah, leveling in particular, because like especially if you're racing to get to max level for endgame content, and like maybe with your buddies, like hey, like let's level together. It's like yeah, but all right, what if I'm playing maybe more hours than you? Like I want to keep leveling, you know?
Yeah, you're 20 ahead or something.
And then you have the conversation of, are we doing Horde or are we doing Alliance? Dude, I want to be Horde. No, we are Alliance. Like that conversation is always interesting when you're starting out. Like it's always fucking something. Man. And then like, oh, like do you want your group of friends to be diverse? Because you're not gonna all be fucking healers. I'll tell you that much. Like you're definitely like
someone's gonna have to make a bit of a compromise.
Right. You want everyone to be all the roles, so you have a group to do everything with. So it's like, okay, like who wants to be the tank? Who wants to be the healer? The DPS are usually easy. Everyone doesn't mind doing damage, but the tank and the healer, and it's just like these are all these things you have to think about in Guild Wars 2. You don't have to think about
DPS?
Damage per second damage.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's what DPS stands for. So like you're not nowadays with MMOs, with Guild Wars, with Final Fantasy. Yeah, you're not really thinking about this stuff as much. Even probably with WoW, you're not thinking about this stuff as much.
Wow.
Because all your classes in retail can do pretty much everything.
Okay. That makes sense.
To an extent.
Yeah, you're not really whereas with back in the day before they made these two other races, you truly had to make it like if you wanted to be like a class was a choice based on your alliance.
Right. If you were a priest, you most likely got forced into healing. Priests have a discipline spec, a shadow priest spec, which is DPS, but like people didn't like when people played Shadow Priest. When you were a priest, you can heal. We need a healer. You're gonna heal.
Yeah, well, it's like or like Boomkin for druids.
Explain what that is.
A Boomkin is just like
it's a very weird word to just throw out.
I was gonna accept it and move on, but I'm glad you said something.
Druids can be like bear form, cat form, or pretty much just Boomkin form. And
it's like a creature. It's like an owl bear thing.
Owl bear.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
And it's a caster, druid class.
Yeah, it does DPS.
Now I have a question: Is it a bear body with owl wings, or is it?
It's like
an owl with big bear arms.
Just Google it. Yeah, like
well, my imagination is running wild.
It's like a big
right
bear
now.
with like an owl body. Like a bear body. Yeah.
But they were
right.
I don't even know. I wouldn't even know how to describe that. It's just it's like a really gigantic owl with some bear features.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they were useless in Classic.
Why is that? They just
didn't bring like any
they weren't optimized.
They weren't valuable in raids or anything like that.
And that's another thing. Like
but
dealing,
in TBC they are.
Boomkin.
Every raid wants a Boomkin because they had like 5% crit.
Dealing with specs that are just bad.
Yeah.
Like ret
Shadow
alleys.
Priests are a lot better in TBC.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the reasons I never like really got into MMOs.
Retribution Paladins are DPS, and nobody likes a Retribution Paladin.
Rets are alright.
For
their buff.
Depends on who you ask.
No, because you want them for their buff.
Yeah, I don't know. I always just want it
But as a paladin, you can tank and heal.
So that makes
We'd
sense.
much rather have a tank or healer.
Like I guess that I do think that's maybe why I never got really into MMOs because I'm like I don't want to worry. I don't want to have to pick what I'm playing as in relation to a group.
Well, yeah,
I just kind of want to do what I want to do, and it's definitely what it is.
Well, something interesting with TBC came around is, the three buddies I play with. My one buddy Dave's a warrior. He's a fury warrior in Classic.
Shout out to Dave.
Shout out to Dave. Hunt is a warlock. And Mitch was a shadow priest.
Okay.
And when TBC rolled around, like the melee classes, like went from the top for damage for raid and shit like that
and they
to like
mid tier. Yeah.
So like fury warriors, like all of them pretty much like respecting the arms because you bring more of you have like a plus. I think it's like a 3 or 5% damage.
Fury
to the
is
raid.
going from arms is two handers. Fury is dual wielding.
All
Yeah,
right.
but also like changes up how you spec the classes and everything.
Sure.
Yeah, like the
No, that makes
expansions
sense.
come with like big
Yes.
improvements,
Okay.
obviously.
Almost
so.
like in D&D when you not even respec, but like when you do your level up and you have to
Right.
choose
I mean,
right.
think about it from edition to edition. Things
Yeah.
change. They
Sure.
reiterate on things.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And like so even like rogues like every raid's may bring in 1 or 2 into each one.
Okay.
So when that rolled around, we had to start thinking about like finding a guild for TBC, and then we had to find a guild that's willing to take an arms warrior and a rogue along with a warlock and a shadow. So like
So yeah, it's stuff you got to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of Burning Crusade, how has been? It's been a few months since Burning Crusade is released. How's it been for you?
I really enjoy it. I think that so what's different with this release compared to the release back in the day is only Karazhan and Gruul and Mag are available for raiding right now. Back in the day, it was Karazhan, Gruul, Mag, and Serpentine.
Shrine Caverns. Yeah.
And
No,
I think that might have been it. I think that might have been it. So because I think Tempest Keep was later. But
yeah, Tempest Keep is
so Serpentine's not out yet.
not last. It's before Black Temple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Serpentine's not out yet, because like when that stuff was released, Serpentine I think had the best gear. So doing like a Karazhan, you're replacing that gear like instantly if you can do Serpentine. When like the tier 4 gear here now like lasts a little bit longer, because they don't have that next rate out already.
You got
Okay.
a question? Sounds like.
But like
He just answered it actually.
I'm still really enjoying it. There's still a few pieces of gear that I'm looking for that I need in a couple of the raids, but I'm almost like at Biz
So
gear
gear
best
and
in
that, can you
slot.
like upgrade and stuff? And,
Yeah.
like, do all
It's
that
like
good
any
stuff?
other
Yeah, that's what I
RPG.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, nothing really too crazy about
Okay.
it.
Makes sense.
How did you like the zones and the leveling experience in Burning Crusade? Because
I
it's a
thought-
lot different.
I loved Outland. I thought Outland has like probably, I mean I think it's a lot better than
Azeroth,
Azeroth when
Eastern
it comes
Kingdoms,
to
and Kalimdor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Outland is kind of like a different planet. Like you go to a different planet through a portal, and it's a lot more alien, and the zones just look like essentially more alien. Than
What's
they
the
did.
name of the? Is there a name of the world? for
Azeroth.
Warcraft? It is Azeroth.
It
Okay.
is-
that's what the dark portal looks like.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
so you go through the
Interesting.
dark portal to what used to be Draenor, now is Outland after lore reasons,
Okay.
which we won't super get into. But yeah, like the first zone, Hellfire Peninsula, I feel like is probably definitely the most like nostalgic for people.
Yeah, I think that's the most. It reminds me the most of like Azeroth as well, when it comes to like zones. Like I think that's the most like.
Because it's like deserty, except it's
Yeah,
red.
I think it's the most like. But then like you look up into the sky and you
It's like
see
a
like
fucking-
the fucking planets and you're like,
yeah.
oh my god,
the
it's
skybox is
unbelievable.
pretty
That's cool.
But like I didn't spend a ton of time here. I was actually just yesterday I just went there just to check it out and do a little bit of farm. But Nagrand is really cool. I love Nagrand a lot.
Nagrand's got a lot of like floating like islands of
Like
rock in the sky. It's
like
very
a-
like fieldsy. You know what I like in MMOs in most games, your standard like forest zone.
Yeah.
Like very like peaceful, not war torn,
Relaxed, yeah.
relaxed. Yeah, like every human starter zone in any game is like that.
like Zanger Marsh or
Dagger Marsh is like a swamp.
yeah,
Okay.
a little swampy, which is
Then you got Blade.
Swamplands? No, okay.
There's a zone called Swamplands.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah. Then you have another
What
spike.
were you referencing?
Isn't that
Just
Fortnite?
Swamplands?
Yeah, wasn't there Swamp? What was?
Or
wasn't there
no,
Swampland in
Netherwind. You have
Fortnite?
Nether Spite is a boss in Karazhan. You have Netherwind up north, which is like
Sure.
they have like the bubbles. Remember? Do you remember that? Like the
Yeah.
bubbles in certain
Yep.
areas.
And Bladefist
where Tempest
Mountains.
Keep is.
Bladefist Mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Still love
and
I
it's
love
like-
a good environment design. I will
Yeah,
say.
like
Mm.
Shadow
big
Moon
mountains
Valley.
with all these spikes coming out of them. Shadow Moon Valley. Yeah. Terracar Forest, which is probably the worst, even though.
Yeah, but that's more like on the lines that you're talking about, like a foresty.
Yeah, but like it's like gray,
Yeah, that's where Shatrath is, which is
which is the capital city, which is where everyone hangs out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's how's the raiding experience been? How long have you been raiding? What are you on right now? What's the deal?
So we were in a couple guilds so far.
Oh, we've been moving around.
Yeah, so the first one I think
The squad's been moving.
I forget if TD was the first one we were in or not. But there's a guild that we really enjoyed. We really liked the people. They had 2 raid groups.
Guild drama. Nothing like it.
Yeah, the first group was like a bunch of guys from like retail that came over. There was like a core group of them, and we were filling out the second team. We're clearing content, and then it was like one morning, like Sunday morning. The one guy was just like, "Hey, like the second team, like we had to disband it because like we can't fill the group, blah blah blah." And like we were maybe missing like 2 or 3 people for like that week.
Yeah, it's like it was just out of nowhere. Yeah,
it was out of nowhere, and like we were like. I don't know. We felt like they just like kind of like didn't really give their all trying to fill out that group because they had their core guys in the first one.
Yeah.
So then we went to we found another guild. And at this point, it's just me, my buddy Dave, and Hunt playing. Mitch is like taking a break. Mitch like enjoys the leveling experience the most, while the 3 of us really enjoy raiding the most.
You know what? Real quick, let me interrupt. You know what's something I really wanted them to bring, even though it wouldn't have made sense? Achievements. Because they added achievements in Wrath of the Lich King. So I was like, why not just add them earlier?
No.
Maybe I'll be back.
But you can start prepping for Wrath achievements now.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you... Did they say that?
No, but I was actually just watching a YouTube
I know
video.
if you clear dungeons, like I remember when Wrath came out, a lot of shit auto-popped.
Yeah, but there's some... There's one achievement where like you start out hated for like Bloodsail, Buccaneers,
and you have to get to Exalted.
You have to Exalted, which like you have to kill like thousands. The only way you can farm is there's a group of Bloodsail that give you like one rep per kill. So you literally just have to kill.
Yeah, there's reputation in WoW, but
sure.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, obviously you're hated or you're hated by the Horde or the opposite faction, but like there are like some neutral factions you can either become exalted or hated with, or you know, whatever's in between. But continue. Sorry, I interrupted with that achievement sidebar.
So we found a new guild that I really enjoyed. The other 2 guys were like iffy on, and then there's like, you know, a week or 2 in there that they were like, it was kind of like the straw like broke the camel's back for them, and they're like we think we're leaving, and I was like, I'm tired of bouncing. I like this guild. We're clearing content. I like the people. I'm gonna stay in it.
Yeah.
So they left the guild. I stayed in it. They found a new guild now, and like we kind of just have like a little rivalry bullshit where we'll talk shit on each other's guild. But like as long as we're all playing and like we're all continuing to play, and we run like heroic dungeons together and shit like that.
Like hard modes of normal dungeons.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what a heroic.
As long as we're all
sense.
playing and like that's like, and we're all getting gear and stuff like that, it's kind of like really what matters. Like obviously we like to like all go together, but
yeah, sure.
That's exactly what happens to me every time I try to play with friends. Like you end up getting split up by something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're dedicated to finishing.
The Alliance. Yeah.
Yeah, whether it was simple as like what you wanted to roll, or
we thought about starting a guild and start TBC. We were pretty serious about it. Like,
I leaded a guild in
week.
Guild Wars 2 for a while. A guild fell apart, and me and like 3 other people kind of like picked it up, and like it never got back to where it was.
Yeah, we thought about starting a guild, and like we were all excited about it, but it just never came to fruition.
How hard is it to start a guild?
It's pretty difficult.
You need at least 25 people to do 25-man content.
Right. You just gotta like, you know, it's finding people. It's cultivating a community, just kind of like we do for the podcast in a way. Yeah.
And like none of us knew the fight. None of us were like what was a main tank. None of us really knew these new fights, so we'd have to like be recruiting for like a raid lead, and main tank and shit like that. Like. So we're like, this
like
might be
tough stuff. I see.
Yeah, raid leaders are pretty big.
And we're on what's it called now? Server.
Oh, you moved? Not on Ashkandi anymore.
No.
Ash Candy?
We are on Man Crick.
Man Crick's
which is
wife.
the largest PvE server on NA.
I played on Earth Fury and Benediction.
Okay.
Yeah, my Alliance guy was on Benediction, and my Horde was on Earth Fury.
Did you do PvP or PvE?
PvE.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Benediction was PvP, I think, actually.
So so difference between PvE and PvP servers. PvP servers.
I know what a PvP versus PvE is. Thank you very much. But for the
audience, there is some context for the server.
Yeah, so PvP server is like you could just be a little level 10 human warrior right around the world, and a level 60
just walks up and
horde rogue comes up and just one hits you. But on
Yeah.
a PvE server,
You can't do that.
So
Yeah,
when
that
you're
makes
out
sense. That's what I
leveling,
thought.
you can get in fights with the other faction if you're on a PvP server. If they attack you, if you attack them, but like there's always that you're leveling, you're like, oh,
it can be a pain.
you're like, oh,
No, I can imagine. So,
That's one of the reasons why I
Here-
stopped my my One Alliance Warriors, because I had to go to all the way to
like you're in certain zones where like max level characters pass through and you're still leveling. You're like, oh,
and they just want to be jerk offs and
Yeah.
just fuck with you.
gank you and camp your body. Yeah,
I had to go to like Razorfern,
downs,
one of them in
crawl,
what's it called?
barons,
In the Barrens. And I had to get there on my Alliance.
and that's a far walk for an
Warrior.
alliance character. It's a horde zone, so
Yeah.
like walking there
Just
is a
got ganked.
fucking ordeal.
And the Baron is like one of the starting zones for Horde.
It's
And
big.
Right out, it's
Yeah,
big.
it's-
It's right outside like Orgrimmar, which is like their.
the orc main city and the
like-
Tauren
it's
main
really
city.
like the
Hey, wait,
Horde
the
main
orc
city.
main city is Orgrimmar?
Yeah, Orgrimmar,
Yep.
and then
Come on,
the
guys.
Tauren zone is Thunderbluff. Orgrimmar is named after Orgrim Doomhammer. who
Well,
is
of course. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
What was I
Orgrim
thinking?
Mar.
Yeah, okay, that makes
There's
sense.
Thrall Mar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's their naming convention. There you go. There's
I
some lore
got
for you.
ganked for like an hour straight.
So
by the
gank, is that
same-
just a grief?
Yeah.
Yeah, when
it's
you
just-
gank, you gank somebody, you like just fucking fuck them up.
And I stopped playing that Alliance Warrior because of it. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
this
still
sucks.
again like
Yeah,
it's
turn-
it's kind of funny how like I guess Red Dead Online kind of does
Right,
do
you get
have a lot
ganked
of
by
these. So, yeah,
people.
like
Yeah.
you get fucking assholes
You're
just
just
roll
playing
through.
and-
Yeah,
and you got
I'll
somebody
just be
just-
throwing a line in the water, catching a nice fucking salmon, and I get a shot to the head.
Dude, I'll never forget when I was like making some meat at like my wilderness camp, and somebody comes up behind me and like points the gun to my head and waits a few seconds and
Just
fucking
pulls the shit.
blasts me.
Fucking assholes.
I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's just exactly
yeah,
the
yeah.
same thing. Except in WoW, you have a choice when you start a server. But like back in the day, I didn't even know the fucking difference.
how
like
would
there
you-
were
yeah.
things next
Well,
to the
there's-
server, and I'm like, what does
There's
that
no
mean?
such- in retail now, there's no such thing as PV. I'm almost positive.
Really?
Yeah, it's you have the choice to.
There's no PVE, you
Yeah,
say?
yeah, you have the
Oh.
choice.
No, there's no choice between servers.
Oh.
Yeah, you have a choice to click like at war or some shit. I forget. the
Yeah.
name
So
of it.
what? Basically,
like-
one that puts you in that or not. Or,
Yeah, like in the, like when you hop in the server, when you hop in the game,
Yeah.
you turn it on or off, and like if it's on, then like you can get killed and people can kill you. And
I didn't
off.
know they changed that. I
Yeah.
used to play on lane in
I forget
retail.
the term of it. It's like war something.
Lane,
Because
fucking lane,
like
dude.
I was watching a video. I think it was probably Asman, and he was talking about
Aspen Gold.
someone complaining about it. He's like, well, that's what you get for playing with what's it called on. Like, just turn it off.
yeah.
You goof.
Well, because they got yeah, it's like you're
He was
an
like
idiot.
complaining about getting greed. It's like, just turn it off.
Yeah. Well, even that's funny in Red Dead, you can put on like you can still get hit in Red Dead though on a safe mode. It just doesn't. They can't lock onto you.
In
You can
Red-
turn on like
at least-
I can't remember what it's called. It's like safe mode, so like you don't show up on the map.
Yeah.
But like and you like kind of look a little see through. People can still shoot you and kill you,
Yeah.
but they can't lock on you. It's a lot tougher.
Yeah.
But
doing-
it's still just annoying.
I'm doing a lot of interrupting today. I
all right,
apologize. Yeah, at least in Red Dead, it's funny when you get fucking destroyed.
It kind of is. And
in
again,
WoW,
you're
it's
just
not funny
Yeah,
at
I was gonna
all.
say like you do just spawn in Red Dead with all your
like,
shit,
you,
so
do-
it's not
you
an
hear
issue.
you hear the rogue cloak sound,
Yeah.
and then you go, and you're fucking dead in like
Oh,
2
man.
seconds, and it's like, dude, like, and that's like you can't complete this. Of
course,
quest.
yeah, no.
This guy can just camp your body and keep doing that, like, and that's again.
I
that's
love
that's
assholes that
another-
would just sit there and do that's what I'm doing with my day. What? I'm just gonna sit by this guy's body until he comes by.
That's another pro con. It's like, do you like that experience? Well, it's kind of in the game.
It
and
does
there's
show you-
nothing you can do.
I'm
about
just
it.
saying, if humans didn't die like immediately, like and we had resets, we'd be killing each other all the time. Like the way I see,
If we just respawn?
like just the way I see people get into these games, and it's so funny. Like the first thing they're like, shoot that person in the head right now,
Oh,
shoot
like-
them,
like
kill.
in
Like
Fallout,
it's
you
like
go
an
to
immediate,
Megaton,
yeah. Like
and you killed Lucas Sims, and it's like, what are you doing, dude?
well, I can't. I think I was showing my friend Red Dead, and they're like, "Oh, well, can I shoot these people?" I'm like, "Yeah," they're like immediately. Like it's
Yeah.
not even like a thought.
Second thought, yeah.
But yeah, it's weird tendencies. But guys, anything else we'd like to discuss WoW-wise?
Good segue. I was about to close it out. I think the only thing we would kind of touch on it was like, what's the future of Classic, and it's obviously going to be Wrath. But after that, it's like, what happens to Classic?
Yeah, I think what Blizzard really has to do. Well, first off, they have to fix what's going on in retail now. With obviously with the number of players declining and stuff like that.
What is that? What do you mean declining?
It just goes
like-
down. The expansion comes
so,
out.
yeah.
I thought you meant that makes I misunderstood.
There's a big- there's a big-
the amount of players are
There's
declining.
a big player boom for the new content, and then the new content isn't so good, and
Yeah, so like
Slowly
Blizzard's
declines.
like kind of unspoken mentality has always been like, we have the numbers, we have the players.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't matter. Like, who cares?
They're gonna play it
Yeah,
no matter what. It doesn't matter. And not saying that they don't give a shit, but it's like they're kind of
they kind of don't give a shit.
they just don't. I don't think that they like 100%
Well,
understand their player
so-
base.
and they haven't for this is
Yeah.
and this is years since Wrath. So
But
Wrath was
I don't think they play
2008.
the biggest thing is like people like. I don't think anyone at Blizzard plays their own game.
And I mean, also,
If they
you're-
did, they wouldn't
they'd
be
go
making
insane,
some of
yeah.
these fucking decisions.
Well, it's fun. Like, I mean, honestly, I think it just speaks to the thing of like until their player base goes down, like it seems like it is, like you
It
guys are
always
saying.
does, yeah.
But it does pick back up, so they know
And
usually
new
when a new
expansions,
expand.
because
so,
people are excited for the new content.
like, of course, and that makes total sense. So unfortunately, it just seems like they're like, well, they don't have any financial incentive, I guess, to no, you're good to make these like kind of adjustments because,
Yeah.
like you're saying, they feel like they're just gonna get their players back. So that's unfortunate.
But so, like my I think an idea which would be neat is they obviously have a huge number of players playing Classic, whether it's it was Vanilla Classic or TBC Classic, and they're coming out with Classic Forever servers,
Sure.
which is just the Classic content from Vanilla.
Which are already dead,
Okay.
right?
No, I don't think they released them.
I
yet.
remember Asmongold going in and he's like, hey,
I don't think they
what are you doing?
They haven't. No. That server was just
The lowest pop server.
Yeah, no, that was I don't think that was a Classic Forever server yet. That was like people decided to keep their character on that server in Classic rather than bringing it to TBC. Because I think Classic Forever is just going to be a brand new, fresh server, start at level 1 again. You don't carry your character over; it's
Sure,
already
Right.
level 60.
Do you understand that? There's servers that are staying in Classic, Vanilla, and not moving to the expansion.
Sure. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
But I think it'd be neat if post Wrath, because Wrath is definitely going to come out, if they could somehow funnel their retail into like maybe doing an entire like.
I was gonna say, do you think they do new content of some kind? Like,
See,
like-
that
No,
was-
no. This was my idea. If you could funnel those people from Wrath into the retail content, so either you do like a
I don't know how you
hard
do that.
reset in retail where something lore wise resets it, and you go back in time to right after post Wrath, and you don't do Cataclysm, you do a new fucking expansion straight off Wrath where you get those people from Wrath into that.
That would be insane.
That's I think how you kind of get your
Keep this train
entire-
going.
You are
Keep the train
you are
going.
essentially developing two games. Like one, you're developing one but two games at the same time. It'd be crazy.
No,
And
no.
that was kind of the thing I said. It's like, what if they just restarted after Wrath? They just made a new game after that. Like that would be crazy.
Yeah, they
But
could
what would
do
that look like?
But you gotta. I think the only way that they would do it is if they incorporate retail into that. So you do like a hard reset in retail. Like I said, keep it lore wise. Like
So there's
something
two,
happens in
and then they
lore.
merge them together.
Yeah, and you.
I don't know
And
how
they
the fuck
meet
that would
at
happen.
post Wrath. Well, because you have like the
Well, what-
Sylvanas shit.
What
and
what time mumbo jumbo is the fucking
Something, man.
the fucking bronze dragonfly gonna get into to create that
Yeah.
bullshit?
Cabbage of time, get them there.
Yeah, there's some timey-wimey stuff in Guild Wars.
So I think
in,
that's
in
the
WoW.
best way that they could like kind of.
keep it going. Get
And,
the
like,
best of both worlds.
It's not
Have
that
a
you're,
cake and
it's
eat
not
it
that you're
too.
dumbing
as they
down
say.
retail. It's just retail has a ton of like,
Animosity.
no, it has a ton of elements that are like, not that they're too confusing, but they're just like too much in
Okay.
a sense. And
Wait,
like,
retail?
yeah,
I thought retail's been really dumbed down.
no, retail in a sense of like gear wise, like with all the different gems and all this shit, which
Gets
is like
very-
much more
like
than
a lot,
TBC
yeah.
gems. It's like you're grinding for I don't know. It's hard to
I
explain.
don't even know how retail works anymore.
It's hard to explain.
What is
but-
a retail?
But it's not like I said, I don't want it simpler. Just there's a lot of mechanics and elements in that some of them are useless, and then some of them are just like the OP bis ones that like. So all the other ones they added, no one gives a shit because
Not doing much.
they're useless in a sense, you know.
Interesting.
They tried to add too much, and then a lot of it wasn't.
Just
then you try
kind
to
of just
take-
to deaf ears. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like just to kind of end it here. I feel like Blizzard just doesn't know what to do for WoW anymore. Classic was kind of an answer, but people were asking.
Or do you
for
think
it.
they don't care enough to really try to figure it out?
I think that also has something to do with it because I remember in a panel somebody asked them about this Classic years ago, and the dev goes, You think you want that, you don't. And I kind of agree. I kind of understand what he's saying. You think you want classic, but like, do you really? Do you really want to like?
mean-
and that was the kind of when classic was first getting announced. It's like, okay, do we really want to go back to 2004 WoW and deal with all the bullshit that we don't have to deal with anymore? You know, that's
Or
the
could you make it better?
But people did.
Right.
Classic was a huge hit.
I think World of Warcraft, if anything, they could do like an almost like look at what classic does great and look at what retail does great, combine the two and make like a new game.
What did I say? A Wrath. That's what you do.
But, like-
Post Wrath Classic.
but, like-
that's that combo.
But like I'm talking about
You did say that.
right, but like I don't know how would they do it?
I don't know,
Does
it's-
sound like it would be a bit of a like I don't know.
Clusterfuck?
Like, I
no,
don't,
just do just a bullshit lore of something. You know, go back in time.
time
reset,
reset something.
And that's it.
Interesting.
That's the end of it.
All right. Well, it's been a good convo. Glad we finally got to talk about classic on the podcast. It's been I think it's been like more than a year since
It's
I
been a
wanted
bit
to do this, so-
enlightening for me as well. So this was an interesting topic. Good conversation. I can't speak right now. Guys, thank you so much for watching live with us on twitch.tv/Delco Network. If you've been here, you can also check that out. We usually post, when we're going live, when we're doing all that fun stuff. You can find this podcast everywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on any of your favorite services. We are on all your social medias at Delco Nerds on mostly everything. We have a Facebook page as well and a Discord where we talk about WoW sometimes, I think.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. We do talk about WoW on Discord.
Lots of fun people in there, really good time, so definitely worth checking out. You can find all this information on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. We also have an email, delconerds@gmail.com, that you can, shoot us a question, comment, or concern to, and we'll, try to get back in a timely manner. But for Penza, for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.